We will now go on to hear from Bishop William McGrattan. Bishop.
Good morning, and thank you, Senators. On behalf of the Catholic Bishops of Canada, I also wish to thank you for this opportunity to participate in these very important discussions. I'm also appreciative of the extra efforts that we are going to have these discussions in these most difficult times. As the Catholic Church, we have joined with other religious leaders to make our opposition known to the expansion of Bill C-7 and medical assistance dying. And I know that many of you have read that report. And as Catholic bishops, we still remain deeply concerned about these provisions that are enclosed in Bill C-7, especially, as has been mentioned, the devastating impact that it will have on the disabilities of many marginalized Canadians. Living with a disability creates a host of challenges, including access to proper housing, mobility, access to healthcare, employment, and a far greater propensity to live in poverty compared to those who do not have disabilities. These unjust conditions continue to increase the suffering of many who live with such conditions. And in spite of these, we are now prepared to offer those with disabilities, our fellow Canadians, a further assistance, not in living, but assistance in committing suicide. And we just ask, how can this be justified morally? Instead of assistance to commit suicide, should we not be redoubling our efforts to assist people, to allow them to live full lives and to be connected to their communities? Among other things, euthanasia remains as a failure on the part of us as human beings to have the commitment and the ingenuity and the commitment to face human suffering and to offer alternatives. It's equally concerning that the voices of the disability community in Canada have largely been ignored. We hold out a community, a country of Canada, as one of inclusion. And the Council of Canadians with Disabilities and other disabilities have expressed their concern. And we see that the removing of the reasonable foreseeability of natural death as a criterion will further expand and affect this community. We also note that the warnings of the United Nations Special Rapporteur, as has been mentioned in relationship to MAID, have gone unaddressed. I just call to mind what they reported, that there are worrisome claims about persons with disabilities in institutions being pressured to seek medical assistance in dying, and practitioners not formally reporting cases involving persons with disabilities. Yes, it is true that some individuals have expressed some support for this bill. Yet the creation and the expansion of euthanasia is not simply a matter of individual choice, but it is a deep and significant social act, something that we consider that amending the criminal code and allowing such illicit killing of innocent life is not something that we as Christians can stand with. Good and praiseworthy laws cannot be constructed simply on popular opinion, nor simply circumstances of individuals. No matter how emotive and compelling, and we need to realize that instead, our laws need to be constructed on sound moral principles, principles that guarantee the protection of all peoples, and especially the most vulnerable, and those who are marginalized, because every person has dignity and every person has this gift. It is likewise concerning to us that the government has claimed a strong consensus in favor of this, when in fact, most recent polls conducted by Cardis and Angus Reid indicate that 68% of Canadians were disturbed about the UN report, and the lack of critical safeguards for people with disabilities. 63% of Canadians fear the expanded of MAID will continue to lead people with disabilities, those who have certain feelings, to be pressured into choosing death instead of allowing them to, in a sense, be a burden to others. In conclusion, though, I'd like to end on a positive note. And I would like to point out that palliative care, which has not been fully available in our country, is an alternative and something that the Canadian government should address with broader legislation. And when sufficient emotional and psychological supports are given to people, truly they can choose the medical care options that allow them to experience dignity rather than choosing the tragic failure of suicide. So, as the Canadian bishops, we likewise are concerned that not all healthcare professionals in Canada have been provided with this type of protection. So we encourage these discussions. We ask you, the legislators, those who are involved in the Senate, to respond to these most pressing needs. I thank you for this opportunity for this invention. Thank you.